Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, and Mike DiStefano in studio. I got to start every hour with the full name. All right, Michael DiStefano. Michael DiStefano, a.k.a. Al's brother, one half of Hayes and Bro. We'll be on the clock in about 90 minutes, right? And these guys are unhinged. Like Luke and O, they have no confidence in their own picks. No. They understand that we're starting to really see the board, And we're on the clock for the game tonight. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Pierre, LeBrun coming up here in a few moments. Toronto versus Columbus. We'll get to that with Pierre. I don't know why I'm laughing. I mean, the Blue Jackets are just not marquee. It doesn't land a lot, right? But
it would have if Babs was still here.
Yes.
We've been robbed of the Babs return.
Because Dubas is here. Kyle will be back on Saturday. Yeah. For the first time.
A little bit back-to-back. Babs into Dubas. That would have been heroic.
I totally blanked on that, but think about the vibe. Like, do you know how much Babcock material we would have had today if he spoke with the media for the first time in Toronto?
I have a little schedule. I have a little book here.
Yep. Yeah.
And, like, before the season, I write all the games and when everything is. And in there's like a note, Babcock return. Yeah. And then Dubas return on Saturday.
You think Kyle will speak to the media?
No chance.
I don't think he will either. No. Like, that's generally not the protocol, but I don't think it would be the wrong thing to do. Like, just to get it over with, do it, show off.
It's not going to be over with because he's never going to do it.
Yeah, I guess he just has no obligation to do anything.
Right.
That's true. I don't know. I think I would have been more curious to hear from Kyle as opposed to Babcock because Dubas is
really
it's fresher.
Oh yeah, way
right. And like we all know the story. Like Shanahan wanted him to stick around, wanted him to continue to be the guy here. Now he's taken over a team in Pittsburgh where you got Sid, Gino.
You got to finish that sentence. Wanted him to, and then didn't want him to.
Shanahan.
Well, refresh.
Yes, like originally presented him with a deal according to Shanahan,
and then
Jonas. Did you guys ever get to speak to Kyle
when
after he was let go?
No.
So that's what
but it's not like it's only if he wanted to come out and speak.
Right, which obviously he didn't want to or else he would have. But like it would have been a time for the Toronto reporters such as yourself to get some answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Well, then
I'm sure you would have questions lined up if he were to say, I'm going to come out and speak for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He was hired by Pittsburgh and then he's on the Penguins. So there's no looking back.
Well, and that's why it's probably not in his best interest to speak here because you would have to include Pittsburgh media. You couldn't exclude them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it becomes this goofy battle where the media down there is like, well, what about this?
What about the power play? Actually, the power play's on track now.
They finally scored. Yeah.
They got 4 goals. They went a whole month without scoring on the power play. Yeah. They've got 4 power play goals their last 2 games. And Sid is cooking.
5-on-5, he's still one of the 10 best players in the world. Like I don't think there's any question about that. And he's been healthy. Gino's been healthy. Letang's been healthy. Carlson's been healthy. But I had totally blanked on Babcock being in town. And now it's like, he would have been setting up. Like the reason why I think Kyle would give more answers. Like Babcock would have put on a show, though.
But that's
he would have come in and bullied. He would have come in.
And he has to speak.
Yeah, and he's obligated to speak.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he would answer the questions.
He gave he got like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Wasn't there? He was basically timed for how much time.
He was 5 minutes max. It was
and he would have just got off the bike and been sweating.
Yeah, had to make his master's
totally
comment.
Unnecessary. Like, yeah, we get it. Yeah, but it's also it's so much further removed. Like he's been gone. He was gone pre-pandemic.
19.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like he was like COVID didn't exist when Babcock was let go.
More than 4 years ago now.
But it's extrapolated because of COVID. Like anything before COVID is like feels like 10 years, 15 years.
True.
It feels like forever.
Championship. 19.
Yeah. Like that feels it. I mean, it obviously was a long time ago. We're coming on 5 years. But yeah, so Columbus, I mean, I don't think because Babcock's here, that's why they're struggling. But I do believe they would be a better team with Babcock behind a bench.
For sure.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubting that. And then we got a big one in Vancouver tonight too, right? Al's brother, we were talking about that off the air, that Roberto Luongo and the Panthers are in town. Luongo's getting his number retired tonight. So to chat about that, among many other things, league-wide, we're joined now by our TSN hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. We were just talking about that, Pierre. Yes, good to have you. That we're missing out. Like Mike Babcock, this would have been the day. Him back in Toronto.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, me neither.
It feels like that was so long ago.
Right.
Yeah. It probably feels like a long time ago for the Blue Jackets too, given everything they've gone through this year. My goodness.
No kidding. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just talked about a franchise that, I mean, arguably their two most inconsistent players this year have been their two highest paid, in Laine and Johnny Gaudreau. Their young players have actually, I think they're happy with the play of the young players. And you got a rookie head coach who replaced Babcock and Pascal Vincent, who has benched veteran players. They got crazy injuries. I mean, Boone Jenner is a huge loss. So it's been really a nightmarish season for Columbus in so many ways.
Yeah, I'm curious if, like, the Calgary Flames, to include them in all this, would look at it like, all right, Huberdeau's killing us, and he's killing them. He's got 3 assists in his last 11 games. Yeah. Like, he hasn't scored in 11 games, and I believe he's pointless in his last 6.
Making 10.5.
Making 10.5. So obviously that is really hurting them. But do you think they look at missing out on Gaudreau now as them dodging a bullet?
Whew. I never even thought of it from that perspective. The one thing you can't predict, obviously, is how Gaudreau might have fared had he stayed. And had he stayed, does Matthew Tkachuk stay? And then the band is still together in terms of the way Gaudreau and Tkachuk played together. I'm not saying Tkachuk necessarily would have. I mean, I think everyone's always been careful not to tie one to the other in terms of the events of that summer. But the other thing is, what if Johnny Gaudreau signs somewhere else and meshes better with that team? So, listen, there's no question in my mind, and I chatted briefly with Huberdeau when he was in Toronto last month, and I've never heard him sound like have so little confidence in himself. It was very hard on himself and clearly trying to find it, but I think he's really feeling the weight of that. But the other thing, you want to talk about circumstances and your teammates and how you fit into certain teams. No one has been hurt more from leaving a system and a team than Jonathan Huberdeau. He fit in so well in Florida, especially when he played with Barkov. Like, that was unbelievable. That was heaven for him. And he played great. He had some amazing years there. But, that's obviously not the style of hockey that they play, not only in Calgary now. It's not even the style of hockey they play in Florida anymore. Paul Maurice obviously overhauled that from how it was before. But my point is, we look at players and their production, and we tend to look at it often in a vacuum. I know I'm guilty of that, but those are all examples of players where you could say, would they be struggling the same way on a different team or in a different, in a different system?
Well, Pierre, speaking of Calgary, I was interested by a note from your latest column at The Athletic about Chris Tanev and the possibility of like a first-round pick being the price and whether the Leafs are willing to pay that. And at first my thought was like, I don't think I'd pay a first-round pick. But then it's like, okay, well, you don't have a second-round pick and you don't have a ton of prospects that you want to trade, can trade. Like, how do you think that plays out? And Calgary, like, if I was Calgary, I'd just sit on my hands and say, okay, I'll just wait. Like, what do you think happens with that?
And I think that's what the Flames have indicated that to other teams, that they're in no hurry to make a decision on Tanev. Although one of the reasons I wrote about it, Jonas, is that when a guy like Tanev gets hurt, even though it looks like it's minor day to day, you kind of hold your breath a bit as a team that will eventually trade him because you're worried about such injury coming at the worst time later in the season, closer to March 8th. I wrote about it too because I cannot think of a better fit for Chris Tanev than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah. Like, honest to goodness. From knowing the GM to what the Leafs need on their blue line, I know you included him in your list recently, Jonas, of possible fits. It's a marriage. It's a marriage, really, that should happen, except for some very important stumbling blocks. One is that, it may be that all Calgary can get at the end of the day is a second-round pick for Chris Tanev, even though I'm sure they'd want a first. The Leafs don't even have a second. They don't have a second for 3 years. They do have a first, though. And this was just my own reading between the lines. It's not anything that anyone told me, but I suspect that if the Leafs wanted to force the issue and have Calgary not wait closer to March 8th, I think a first-round pick would do it. I mean, you can call it an overpay if you want, but at least you get your guy and you get him early. I think that could happen if the Leafs wanted to go down that route. But I get why the Leafs don't want to trade a first-round pick, perhaps, because they've traded, under Kyle Dubas. They went for it. They had a cup contender. They went for it, traded a lot of high picks away, as you guys know. So it's a tough pickle to be in. I'm sure there are other creative ways to get at Chris Tanev if you're the Leafs, including prospects, etc., players on your roster. But I thought I would lay that out because I think it's smart for the Flames to let the market continue to build up. Tanev is the exact type of defenseman that playoff teams want to add, right? It's why Florida paid a first for Ben Sherratt a couple of years ago. It's why Tampa paid a first for David Savard. You definitely see similarities between Sherratt, Savard, and Tanev, right? Mm-hmm. The tough, rugged, block-shocking, warrior type defenseman. But they may not get it first. That's the thing that you don't know.
Well, I could understand the Leafs being, that anxious to do it a month ago. But I'm not sure they need to be in that position today because they're 9-1-3 in their last 13. Liljegren's going to be back probably by the weekend or early next week. Giordano's, a week or two away?
But Hayes, you're thinking bigger.
No, I understand that.
But this is not your defense for the playoffs.
Right, but if you don't, if that's not the price that you see making sense,
to wait it out.
Why would you make a desperate move right now? Why would you pay that price?
Because, I guess you're saying we want to get him and we just want to go.
Sure, assuming that's the only guy they're focused on. I guess
it's obviously not.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is I think the Leafs and Brad Treliving are in more of a position of strength today to make a deal for a defenseman than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
You had told me a month ago, William Lagesson's playing, Benoit's playing, Lajoie's playing.
You're telling me I don't buy that. Come on.
What?
Craig Conroy's on the line. He's like, listen, Craig.
Yeah.
We got Lagesson. We got Ben.
No, I'm not saying that they're happy with that. What I'm saying is they've survived with it.
Yeah. So more than survived.
More than survived. They're the hottest team in the league right now.
The feet aren't on the flyer like it seemed like they were going to be.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
But you know this, Brian. This isn't about. I'm not having this conversation in the context of the here and now. I'm talking about the team finally getting over the hump when it matters.
Yes, of course.
And maybe this is a bit recent bias on my part, but I just covered a Stanley Cup final where no one could get near the goalie for Vegas.
Yep.
They built a fortress around their goalie with that blue line, and I get it. There are different ways to win a cup, and in fact, Colorado won the cup the year before with a different type of blue line. But it is what it is. When you see it with your own eyes, you're like, oh my God, there's no one under 6 feet tall in that Vegas blue line, right? And so from that perspective, and Brad Treliving spent many years in the Western Conference, no doubt in my mind that he knows Tanev would help his team come playoff time. But there are other guys out there. Dregs last week mentioned Lyubushkin, the former Leaf, mentioned Sean Walker in Philly. There's different guys out there. And again, the poker game of waiting to see what the prices are, it changes from year to year. It changes. There are years where the teams that sell players by waiting get a higher price, but it also goes the other way sometimes. Sometimes it goes the other way, and the market gets flooded with and suddenly you're left holding all these pieces, and you're like, I'll take whatever I can get. And that could benefit a team like the Leafs closer to March 8th.
Well, speaking of poker game, Pierre, there's been some interesting reporting coming out of Washington about whether or not, Ted Leonsis, how legitimate the interest is for him to move this team to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a play, or is there's legitimate interest in moving this club here? Or is this more of an arena deal ploy?
Yeah. By the way, Al's brother, what do you think of my Cowboys? Now, we'll chat about that offline.
He loves them. He thinks they'll cover against the Bills this week.
I don't know. I think the Bills are going to win that game, actually. Anyway, I've been trying to ascertain exactly what you just asked because we've seen this type of play before with owners and rinks and so on. Just look at what's transpired in Calgary over the last 10 years before finally getting a resolution there. But, I will tell you that I spoke to someone with knowledge of the situation that said, it's still too early to tell for sure where this goes, but it's not fake when you talk about some of the disappointment in the rink right now downtown, that it needs some serious renovations, and whether or not the local levels of government want to jump into that, that's not fake. That there's some real frustration there, which obviously led to what we saw this week. And don't forget, it's not just obviously the Caps, but it's the Caps and the Wizards and everyone involved. This is a pretty big deal, and and it's a pretty big story in the U.S. Capitol too. So I would say this. I don't think this is a PR stunt. It doesn't necessarily mean that it can't get resolved in D.C., but I do not think it's a PR stunt, I guess is what I'm saying.
With Pierre LeBrun, our TSN hockey insider, you see Jordan Kyrou's comments earlier today, or non-comments?
I did.
Okay, let me read them. We don't have the audio, but Kyrou, who's down in St. Louis, was asked about his relationship with Craig Berube, who was fired a couple of days ago. He said, quote, "I've got no comment. He's not my coach anymore," end quote. Which is, that's such a comment.
Oof.
Like, it's a no comment that is so loud.
Oh, yeah.
It's a picture says 1,000 words. That quote says 1,000 words for me, Pierre. What do you make of it?
Well, and I'll tell you, I got a few thoughts. One is that it's in stark contrast to the comments from the veterans on the team, right? Braden Shen sounded pretty emotional yesterday about letting Craig Berube down, and Jordan Binnington, really talked about best coach he ever had, and those are all guys that obviously won the cup with Craig Berube, right? Mm-hmm. But like you see in every NHL dressing room, not every single player will have the same relationship with their coach. And I mean, I don't want to read too much into that quote, but
I will, man, because Berube made those comments last year. Remember where he blasted his team?
Yeah,
like that was some scathing. Basically, we got guys here who just don't care.
Yeah,
like if I'm paraphrasing it, but. And now I'm starting to. I'll go Jerry Crum on this, and I'll be an investigative journalist.
Well, he's got 5 goals. I mean, he's supposed to be their top goal scorer. He had 37 goals last year. And so when Doug Armstrong, who was clearly, it was hard on him to fire Craig Berube, a guy who won that franchise their only cup. He then turned it on the players in a hurry, and on himself, I should say. Armstrong criticized, the roster. I'm the one with my name on the contracts of these players. But he said, "This players in that room have to pick it up here. Like, this is on them." And I agree. There's a lot of underperforming players. Well, let's put it this way: either underperforming or there's some contracts you're going to regret there. It's one or the other.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of long-term deals of guys that when they sign those deals, they're like, "Yeah, I see that. Won the cup in 19, and building off that, and Kyrou had a terrific couple of first years, and I get it. I see." Well, they better live up to that now. And I'll tell you one thing about Doug Armstrong. You guys know this. He's not scared to make moves. and while it may not be easy, in fact, he tried to trade Torrey Krug last June, and Torrey Krug blocked it with his no move. There's a will, there's a way if the Blues don't pick it up between now and the end of the season. There's no way that I think Doug Armstrong sits there and says, "I'm fine with all this."
Well, I'm curious how much you think the decision to move on from Berube was impacted by like the success we're seeing in Edmonton and Minnesota, where they let their guy go, and then all of a sudden this team goes on a run. Like if they want to make the playoffs here, that seemed like maybe Armstrong's thinking this is the move.
Right. So we don't think it has anything to do with Connor McDavid being the best player in the world again and Stuart Skinner stopping pucks, right? That the Oilers have. I'm just kidding.
It's true, though. That's what Edmonton's doing. But what's the explanation in Minnie? I mean, they've kind of turned things around a little bit.
No question. And listen, that's usually what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why this is the play, especially in the cap era where you can't make trades before Christmas anyway. This is the go-to, and it's kind of frustrating in a way if you're a coach because it's coming. I will say this, though, when it comes to Doug Armstrong firing Craig Berube, he doesn't fire a lot of coaches. I actually have to go back and look at this. But, he hired one coach during his time in Dallas. It was Dave Tippett, who was there forever. And then the 3 coaches he's hired in St. Louis were Ken Hitchcock, Mike Yeo, and Craig Berube. And he's been in St. Louis like 15 years. So it's actually, so Mike Yeo was the only short-term coach in all those hirings. So actually, if Doug Armstrong hires you as a coach, you got a chance to hang around, I guess, would be the takeaway from this. But 6 years and clearly the team underperforming and like I said, hard to make meaningful trades. Not just right now, but like I said, he tried last summer.
Well, it's a good segue into what's happening in Vancouver tonight, where Roberto Luongo is going into the Ring of Honour tonight, and obviously he's famous for his contract and him saying his contract sucks, and that's why he couldn't get dealt out of Vancouver. And eventually ends up in Florida. It worked out well for him. He's working for the Panthers in the front office. But Yeah, his career, like Al's brother, you brought up the idea that he never won a Vezina.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, greatest goalie ever to not win one. Is that what you're suggesting off the air? Am I putting words in your mouth?
I mean, I would have to
it?
take a peek, I suppose,
Okay.
and look and see, like maybe there's someone I'm misremembering and
Sure.
not thinking of, but like certainly of the modern era. I mean, like Hasek, Waugh. Like think of all the guys who are stud goalies that we think of around like the Mount Rushmore. They've all won Vezina.
Price, Brodeur.
Price, Marc-Andre Fleury finally won his.
Yep.
This guy never won one.
That's right.
And he's considered one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. I think he might be the best to never win a Vezina.
That's a good point. It is a good point. And you look back on his career, like in Vancouver in particular, they were a great team, President's Trophy, Game 7, Cup Final. Yet I'm not sure how to define, Luongo's career in Vancouver. Like I'm sure you get asked about it all the time. Where do you stand on it, Pierre?
Yeah, I mean, 2011 still hurts for so many Canucks fans, and not just for Canucks fans, but people that were with the organization then. It's still a difficult subject to bring up. I mean, honestly, I was so surprised that Boston beat Vancouver in that Cup Final, and I remember feeling that going into it. But we weren't completely aware of some of the injuries that the Canucks had. But having said that, the Bruins, I mean, that was a clinic, the way they came back in that series, and Chara and Bergeron and how they delivered. Tim Thomas especially. It wasn't Tim Thomas's job to pump up Roberto Luongo, remember?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was a fun series to cover. Luongo, not just a great NHL career, though, by the way, too. I mean, Olympic champion.
Yep.
And I don't think, and I personally covered him winning a world championship overseas. When I'm telling you, when you're over there, it's not the most obvious thing to do for a Canadian team in the spring to win that tournament. He was unbelievable in 03 and 04. But the Vancouver Olympics, I don't know that enough gets made of this. So Canada loses to the U.S., as you guys remember, in the round robin. And Babcock makes the call that he's benching the winningest goal in NHL history, Marty Brodeur, who, albeit admittedly too at the time, is near the end of his career, right? And goes to Luongo. And it's not because of Roberto Luongo that Canada ended up winning that gold medal, but he certainly made sure that he wasn't going to be part of the story of them not winning it, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like, he did his job. And I remember being there, and the media in those days in the Olympics, we'd be in the fifth row center ice, kind of crazy. And just, reading the body language in that gold medal game. And that pressure is unreal. Like, can you imagine being the goalie of that team on home ice where if you don't win the gold medal that day, no one's ever going to forget it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Mm-hmm. And I thought he played well. And he never won a cup, and obviously people will bring up 2011, as you should. But I thought the pressure of the Vancouver Olympics, especially the NHL city he played in too at the time, Vancouver, I thought he handled that incredibly well. And people shouldn't forget that part when you're talking about the greatness during his career.
Yeah. What a back-to-back that would have been. You win the Olympics in your backyard, and then you win the Cup in your backyard. Like back-to-back years. That was right on a platter. But it's a team sport. He's in the Hall of Fame, and Luongo will be back in Vancouver tonight. We look forward to that. Pierre, we'll let you go, buddy. We'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Right on. I was going to ask you about Tommy DeVito and the Giants there, Brian, but another time.
Yeah, I kind of like them in New Orleans this weekend. I think the Giants might win, man. I'm looking forward to that Buffalo-Dallas game, though. Your Cowboys, that defense on the road, they stink.
Yeah, good luck to the Cowboys.
I actually think the Bills will win that. But that's also, okay. I got a lot of Bills buddies. Yeah. I'd be happy for them.
All right. Yeah. There you go. Look at you. That's how many wins the Cowboys have. You're willing to be charitable and hand one away. That's very nice of you. Very cordial of you. Thanks, Pierre.
All right. See you guys.
Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build their next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. Check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, Cowboys outdoors in Philly rocked. Outdoors in San Fran rocked. Now outdoors in Buffalo. Man, that defense, they got to show up on the road. They got to show up on the road because I don't think the Niners are going to lose again. I think you're going through Levi's Stadium personally.
Yeah.
In the NFC. So we'll see. But that's going to be a great game. Great game on Sunday.
And Luke are on that one.
They are on that game.
We don't got to pick it.
We don't have to worry about that game.
Don't got to pick it.
No, because we're going to present them with an in-season tournament idea that you came up with that I personally think is great.
I think it's terrific.
But these frauds will probably turn it down, but we'll see. Jonas is an objective bystander. You can give your
I got to be honest about you two.
Yeah.
I'll tell this to the other guys too. You just don't strike me as the winners in this thing.
What do you mean?
That's
I
uncalled
just-
for.
Check your numbers again.
That was a
Check your
subjective
numbers
take.
again.
You
Come on.
That's not objective.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just pick it up on loser vibes.
Yes, I didn't want to use that word, but yeah, a little bit.
You can be honest with us. You're picking up on loser, really pathetic loser vibes.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's us. Like, we do got to give credit. Like, Luke is picking games right now
Yeah,
at an
he's-
elite level. This guy's like 70%.
His win-loss
It's
record
so
all year
tough.
has been crazy good.
But law of averages,
Yes, and we're
back
back.
half slide.
We're back above 500. We are moving in the right direction.
Yes, we are.
Winning vibe.
I guess I just can't shake. Last time I was on, we had you on,
Yeah.
and it was that Packers Chiefs game. We
Yeah,
were picking it, and
We were
Hayes
gutless.
was like, I don't know about
Yeah.
this.
loser.
Yeah, but
vibe.
then I
think
made
he
him
went
go-
with the Chiefs.
I did.
You're right.
And
You're
Hayes
right.
is like, this doesn't smell right.
Yep.
And then I watched the game, and of course the Packers
Yeah,
won.
they won
And I'm like,
outright.
these guys don't have it.
No.
Then we went Giants over Packers, and that worked out well.
But we redeemed
Yeah.
ourselves.
Reversed it.
But it was
Reversed the
a
jinx.
really stupid, gutless loser play. I cannot disagree with it. And we both have blood on our hands. We both have to own it. But we're going to turn the ship around. We're marching, right? And it continues in about an hour. Leafs Blue Jackets tonight. Jonas, you wrote a piece about Auston Matthews. We'll get into that. If he chases down 60 goals and catches it,
I did not realize how crazy that was.
we'll have you put that in perspective. And what kind of ranking is he possibly in pursuit of in terms of like all-time great goal scoring? That more still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Dave Pullen in studio in the 6 p.m. hour. Luke Wilson in about an hour. Thursday Night Football tonight. Hayes and Bro on the clock.
Did you wish your girl, T Swift, a happy birthday yesterday, by the way, on the show?
I forgot to do that.
Your Swifty card's revoked.
Yeah, I know. It was a big thing in our house. Like my kids are aware of her birthday. Everyone knows her birthday. That's when you know you're
aware.
extremely popular.
Yeah, the whole world knows your birthday.
People are celebrating your birthday. It was a pretty big thing in our house, but I forgot to do that.
Did you play music? Like,
In the house?
Yeah, like
yeah,
for
we've got. It's really annoying. We have a Google and we have an Alexa, and they're like battle with each other sometimes.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Or like one kid will be asking Google, then the other one will
Yeah.
start yelling at Alexa just to bother the other one. I'm like, this is not. I don't need this right
You
now.
got to disconnect one of those.
Yeah, something needs to be disconnected.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like a Curb Your Enthusiasm bit, which did you see they announced? Larry David's announced this will be the final season.
that feels right.
Feels right, but like what's wild is because these had hiatus in between a bunch of seasons, it's only, I believe, the 12th season, but it started in like 99 or something like that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like it's been around for like 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a 10-episode finale. I look forward to that.
I'd imagine they'll
Your
bring
Curb
in
guys?
like characters from, its
You would-
entire.
You would hope so. Although maybe they learned their lesson with the Seinfeld finale where that didn't go over
Oh,
well.
that
Remember
was
they tried to tie in all
brutal.
the different like regular characters and older characters, and they got burned
then
for that.
They redeemed it with the Seinfeld finale on Curb.
On Curb, which was a full
was
season,
great.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I saw that announcement today, which is disappointing. But anyway, Leafs Blue Jackets tonight. Jonas, you wrote a compelling article about like the goal scoring prowess of Auston Matthews.
Well, I just think it's become easy to overlook it and kind of take it for granted, myself included, where you're just like, you just scoring twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at his total, it's like 21 goals in 26 games. It's like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you think of like it contextually and you're like, well, he's on pace to score 66. Well, that's a lot. That would break the record that he set 2 seasons ago of 60. Nobody has scored 66 in like forever. I think I'd have to go back and check. And then
Probably.
you're like, well, who would it probably be?
Well, I went in Solani and Lemieux. Scored
Yeah.
like 72 that year.
Yeah.
76,
I think
Solani
it
and
might be
McGillney.
Lemieux.
Yeah, maybe Lemieux might have had
When he had
66 and like
69 and
93 or
70.
something like that.
Yeah, anyway. And then I was like, well, how many guys have scored 60 twice? And it's like nobody.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of rolling along, and it's like he's going to get to potentially 2 60-goal seasons in his first 8 seasons. And then you're like, well, wait a second, that's kind of insane.
Right.
Ovechkin has never scored 60 twice. He's done it once. And it's just like I kind of need to remind myself as someone who's watching this day to day, and you can kind of just be like, how insane this scoring is, because it's not.
That is wild.
We
He's-
just don't see it ever.
No, he's the best goal scorer in the league, and he has been for at least 3 years, if not more than that. And I believe the amount of goals he has through the amount of games he's played, he's on a faster pace than Ovechkin was.
Yeah.
Like, which is amazing. Like, that's to put it into perspective. The incredible thing about Ovechkin is the longevity of it all. Last year, I think he had 40. He had 42. He had more goals than Matthews last year, and he was 37. And Austin was 25. So, like, I can't get to a point where I envision a conversation a decade from now where we're talking Matthews chasing Gretzky down or Ovechkin down. But if he stays on the same pace, we will be having that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just feels like health. That will be the big thing.
Yes, because his
relatively
ability,
healthy last couple of years though. Like early in his career, he was missing last couple.
He just kind of gets nicked up, and like he played through all that stuff last year.
Yeah.
But it's like Ovechkin was just like such a tank,
right?
Such a tank. But
and Ovi always seemed to start fast, which like statistically Matthews has this year. But a couple of years ago when he scored 60, he didn't.
No,
he
not
went
at
on.
all.
He got stronger as the season went on, and I think we're seeing that out of the way Matthews is playing recently. Like you date back, I think the Boston game a couple of Saturdays ago. He had 2 goals. He was brilliant that game.
That was his breakout because he had gone like 6 or something.
Right,
Goal.
He busted out that night.
He's got 7 and 5 since.
And against the Islanders, he had like 16 shot attempts, 11 hit the net. He scored, obviously. He had 2 against the Rangers. He could have had more than that. Like, all of a sudden, he's starting to chug. A lot of it is driven by, I think, how he plays through the neutral zone, like how powerful he can be through the neutral zone. He's really starting to skate. And someone sent me this note earlier in the week that he now has 66 2-goal games as a Leaf. The team record is 71 by Sittler. Like, he very well could pass that by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And
more
he's
multi-goal games this year than solo goal games.
Right. Which, again, is not something that he was doing earlier in his career.
No.
Like, a lot of times it was 1 here, 1 there, 1 here,
every
then
game.
2.
Well, I think last year it wasn't until like February until he had his second multi-goal game.
Yeah. But that's more important context. He's not even having like a great season.
That's
really. And it's like he's on pace for 66 goals. And like, well, what, how does that make sense?
Isn't that insane? I was thinking about that the other day, and I think I ended up putting it out on Twitter. It's like this guy's got 21 goals in 26 games, and he's been incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Imagine this guy goes on a heater over the next 3 weeks to a month.
I think he's starting it right now.
He's 50 and 50 in play.
50 and 50 is so extreme that I can't see it in today's game.
Well, he had it.
He scored 51 in a 50-game span, so it's
he did. But you're saying the real 50 and 50.
Yes.
Like game 50 of the season, he has 50 goals.
He hits 50 goals. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he could have 30 before
That's what I'm
the New Year,
saying.
right?
Like, he's
But I don't
playing
think it's
poorly
50. Yeah.
throughout the season. It's been inconsistent. If he goes on a heater here and these guys get cooking.
I don't.
We were talking, was it McDavid? We were talking about 50 and 50 last year. I believe we were, and it didn't happen. It's so difficult to do. I don't think it's happened since, I want to say, Brett Hull in like the late 80s, maybe. Like even the Solani and McGillney years, I'm not sure they did 50 and 50. Like the list
Lemieux might have been like in 93.
Possibly, yeah. But it's a very short list.
Yeah.
Like 50 and 50 is very short, even shorter than the 9 guys who have had 60 multiple times.
It's 8.
It's 8 guys. So he's going for 9. Yes. Yeah. If he were to achieve it, he would be the 9th, which that is, you're talking esteemed company. And I'm guessing, like I jotted down the names that are generally considered greatest goal scorers of all time. Ovechkin's one of them. He's never done it. He's never done multiple 60. Gretzky, he's done it. Lemieux, Brett Hull, Mike Bossy. Like, those are the guys.
Yeah.
Yuri Curry would probably be in there. I'm sure Curry's done it.
He is.
So.
Bure.
Did Bure do it twice?
Twice.
I guess once in Vancouver and once in Florida.
Yeah, I'd have to look where it was.
Bure he's top 10 goal scorer of all time.
That would be a fun ranking, like who the top 10 are.
Well,
where he's in there.
I think you can make a case he's already in it, or he's close. Yeah. Like, I don't think he's in this esteemed company because of longevity.
Matthews, you mean?
I'm talking Auston Matthews. Yeah. Like, he is. If you hold the mantle as the best in the game for multiple years.
Yeah.
Especially something like, I'm not talking, hey, this guy's great at face-offs or he's a really good penalty killer. I'm talking the primary objective of the sport is to score goals. And I think he took the baton from Ovechkin 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, I mean,
and even though he had a down year last year,
he got 40.
Exactly. And it was noted how down it was.
Yeah.
Right.
And yet, I don't think you lose your belt because of 1 year. And if he had, he's retained it.
I like that, the belt.
Yeah, I personally think it's indisputable because of what he does on 5-on-5. Well, like 5-on-5 goal stats are off the charts,
but not this year. Like that's what's also weird. It's like the 5-on-5 stats aren't great.
But historically, since he came into the league, he's the best.
Well, and like you think about it, like as a rookie, he was the Rocket Richard runner-up as a rookie.
Right.
He just like walks it. Well, I mean, he walks in and scores 4. So I just think
pretty good head start.
Pretty good.
Yeah. No, listen, it's not something that people are unaware of, but when you start putting historical context to it, you start comparing it to other, like when you start bringing in names like, Gretzky and Bossy
those
and
were
Bure
like
and
higher scoring eras. Like it's
right.
just,
and again,
that's
it also
like era adjusted makes it even more, of an incredible feat.
Yes.
And it speaks to the fact that he's not a kid anymore.
Well,
Like this is his 8th season.
Yeah.
Like he's now played long enough where it's like you're into a different part of your career where you can have these conversations because there's enough data there. Like with Bedard, you can project.
And yet,
but that's
like,
what it is.
He's 26, and I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. I think it might be 100. I think he might be 100 goals from tying Sundin for the Leaf record. I think it's something like that. He's 100 goals.
Yeah, he's 2 years away
being
from
the Leaf record holder, and he'll be like 28.
Yeah.
Not even 30.
Right. Yeah, like he's going to play out the rest of his contract for sure here. That's this year plus 4. By then, he will, without question, unless there's some crazy injury, he will hold that record.
Yeah.
And you look at the 3 of them with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, if they're all here, let's say just through the Matthews contract, let's say Mitch signs a 3-year deal, Willie signs for 4 years, whatever, and they're here for this year and another 4. All 3 of them are going to be undoubtedly in the top 10 in terms of points, but there's a real shot they're all in like the top 5 or close to it.
They could be 1, 2, 3.
They really could.
Conceivably, if they sign.
Like Willie's got further to go because, it took him a while to get going and the points haven't been as staggering, but this year he's clearly helping his case. But I was looking it up, like a month or 2 ago, and it really dawns on, and even Morgan Riley in terms of games played. I don't think he'll catch Solming in terms of points and stuff, but like if he plays, let's say he plays for another 4 years after this with the Leafs, Riley's going to be, in terms of defense stats, like across the board, he'll be top 3, top 4.
Yep.
Right.
Well, when he signed his contract, it was 2 years ago. He signed that extension. I mean,
Morgan Riley.
I mean, he was definitely going to be the most games played for a Leaf. I remember that being a talking point.
Yes.
Came on the show. You were talking about that. What would that mean to you if you play out the rest of this contract as a Maple Leaf? You will have the record for games played as a Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
It is insane when you look at how historic this team is, how long they've been here, and yet it's this nucleus right now that is going to dominate the record books for years to come.
But
if they all stay.
And that's the thing, and everything will be asterisk related unless they get over the hump of the playoffs.
And that's the thing.
That will be the thing. Like if we look back a few years from now and they haven't done anything significant, we'll be like, well, great regular season records.
Well,
but those teams just never got over that.
That's why I don't believe you can establish Matthews as the greatest Leaf ever.
It just depends what you mean by that.
It's
he
always
is the most talented player in the history of the franchise. I don't think there's doubt about that.
Well, who is to you right now?
Well, it is always arbitrary, clearly, because it's not like who's the best goal scorer. It's Auston Matthews. That's over.
If you put up Matthews against, I think Dave Keon was number 1 in 2017.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Just based on the way modern everything.
If you adjust, but again, it's tough for me to speak on Dave Keon. Any of us to speak on Dave Keon, but I'm sure people that watch him would say
brought up a lot.
See, me, Gilmore, everything Matthews has done, he can't match what Gilmore did in those 2 years until he wins more in the playoffs and performs more in the playoffs.
But Dougie, they never won a cup with him either, though.
No, I understand that. But they still won rounds. They went to back-to-back semifinals. And Doug Gilmore had 127 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's outrageous. And then the next year had 111. Yeah. Both franchise records.
Different era.
So, hey, fine. But still, 127 is 127.
Didn't win. Yeah, great.
Did not win the Hart. You're right, because that was the year Lemieux had.
I think he was runner-up.
Yeah. That was the year Lemieux had. He played 60 games and had 69 goals and 170 points, something ridiculous.
You guys have been at the games. When he's at the game, he resonates.
Doug
him
Gilmore?
and Clark resonate more than anyone.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
When they do the military appreciation, that's who get the biggest claps.
It's not even close.
Yeah, and listen, they deserve those accolades because of what they did and how they played and what they represented.
How they played is a big part of it, for sure.
That's a huge part of it, for sure. But I guess for me, Matthews, those guys don't have cups either, obviously. So maybe it isn't about Matthews getting there. And Marner, like I'm looking at it right now, they're both in the top 10. Mitch is 8th in Leaf history with 583 points. Matthews 9th, 574. I'd have to look up where Willie is on
And
that.
I think Austin's already like 5th in goals.
He's 5th in goals. Yeah, he's tracking down Ron Ellis. I think Ronnie Ellis is in trouble on that. He's going to blow past him. Dave Keon had 365 goals. Sittler 389. And then you look at assists. You've got Marner's 7th all time, and he's going to pass guys like Armstrong, Caberlet this year. But yeah, I think again when you're trying to define like greatest of all time, that it is arbitrary because it is like how do you define a superstar? How do you define this, that, or the other? It's not always a tangible statistic.
Well, that's why like the greatest Raptor of all time to me is Kawhi, but like a lot of people would say, well, it's actually Lowry.
Exactly.
And I don't think it's like even a debate. Like Kawhi is the best player to ever play for the Raptors, no question.
So that, but
No
that's
question.
the question though. Like, and I get why you would come at it because you're objective. So you're not looking at it through the lens of like a fan. You're looking at it as who's the best player, and you can make that case for Matthews right now.
Yes.
You can say this guy, when he's chugging, there's no one that's worn this uniform that's been better.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there weren't
Legacy.
other great players, but then there's also legacy.
Yeah.
And there's winning. Like I don't think you can hold. Personally, I just cannot accept greatest of all time without winning. Like
But
it's very difficult to do that, especially with a franchise that's been around for 100 years.
But then, like, you go back to those teams that won. Those were like 6-team leagues. It's like, how can I compare those two things?
yeah.
It's a little easier to win back then.
Okay. Maybe let me rephrase it then. More than one playoff round.
Yes, you're.
How about that?
That is a
They
good
won a round.
How about that?
They won a round.
Like
I think
because
they had
that's
to win. Didn't you have to like win one round to get to the final?
Back in the original
the
six.
original six.
You did.
probably.
Yeah, but that's
okay.
you can't blame that. Like
No,
that's
but,
that's the way the world was.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? That's what it was, a 6-team league.
Yeah.
You can't hold that against. You think, go to Montreal, say that about Maurice Richard, see how they
But it's
respond.
like it's important context in this conversation.
I know, but do you think Cole Caulfield's better than Maurice Richard?
No,
Like, come on.
but I didn't see.
No, I know that, but my point is that just like Bobby Orr played in the original six. No one's going to hold that against him. Gordie Howe.
But like, yeah,
I understand what you're saying. It's more difficult
impossible
now.
to quantify.
And it's much more difficult now.
Who's the greatest J ever?
Salamar.
Is it?
Who's better?
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Roy
is it-
Halladay get any?
Halladay
Like,
is a good.
it's a difference when you're talking, I guess, hitters.
Alamar's
Alamar's
here for like
reputation-
4 years, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Barely here.
So he won 2 World Series.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That seems to matter. And he's in the Hall of Fame. Like, he was a great
Yeah.
player. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like anyone, like for me, if you say like Joe Carter, then you're just caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Carter was a very good J, but he was not like
Donaldson?
Well, so that's what I was gonna like the MVP season Donaldson. Like that's more
That's-
the Kawhi.
Yeah, but
example
then
where it's
they
like
didn't win.
that 1 year.
I would argue George Bell would hold a stronger case because he was here longer.
Yeah.
And he won the first, and he won MVP.
Yeah, fair.
You know,
Joey Bats?
Bautista would be in the running for sure.
How do you think
for
they're
me,
sleeping
I
on
think it's
Halladay?
Salamar.
Halladay was
I think Halladay
the
would
best
be there.
pitcher in the league for like
Years.
7
Yeah.
years.
Years.
I'm not
Least
going to
it
argue
goes
against
years,
his
yeah.
greatness for sure, but and again, it's a team sport. They weren't that good when he was here. He didn't have a chance
Terrible.
to perform and win. But I've always stated it's like when we talk about Hall of Fame resumes. Like I'm not going to hold it against you if you didn't win, but I will give you credit if you did.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, look
so-
at you mentioned Luongo before, or you mentioned Luongo.
Mhm.
They didn't win.
Right.
They
No.
won rounds. I guess that's something.
Got to Game 7 of the final.
They hit it pretty close.
Take that here any day of the week. All right. Who do we have coming up? Dave Poulin? Yeah, Poulin's coming up. I don't blame
Then-
Doogie. That's me. Why am I blaming Doogie? I should know that. Dave Poulin's coming up in studio at 6 o'clock. Luke Wilson will join us as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, TSN 1050's Leafs lineup. Your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. This week, we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Rangers December 19th. John Tavares, 1,000 points. That ceremony going down that night. Plus, throwing in a $250 Vanilla Visa prepaid card with each pair of tickets to make it the ultimate game night. Vanilla Visa prepaid cards are available for purchase at Petro-Canada. Great gift, too. Great wedding gift.
We'll agree to disagree.
I think
Comes to
a
cards.
wedding gift of a prepaid Visa card is actually very acceptable, and I support it greatly.
Tommy Cutlets and his
How
family
much
would
on
disagree.
the wait? How much on the gift card?
Well, that's okay. Let me finish the read here.
Yeah.
Today's player of the day is Olli Jokinen.
Oh boy.
Olli Jokinen, one of the great Leafs of recent memory. Olli Jokinen. I asked Al's brother this earlier off the air. I give you two options at your wedding. Here's $300 cash or $400 gas card. Which one would you take?
Cash.
You would.
Really?
But that's stupid because like I could just use the cash that I'm not spending on the gas.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Why would you take the gas card?
If you
I would take the gas card.
If you gave someone a gas card for their wedding, you should be punched in the face.
I don't
agree.
disagree, but let's say it's like $500, $600. Let's say you go to someone and say, listen, I'll give you $300 cash.
This is very curb.
Or I'll give you $500 gas card. Like if you're sitting there, there's the bride, the groom. You guys look lovely. Love you. It's great to be here. I have two options for you. You pick.
Yeah, pay for gas for 2 months.
I think everyone's you got to take the gas.
You got to take the more money.
I think it's a great gift idea.
Ridiculous comment.
It's so dumb, though.
Am I wrong?
But you would never offer someone more.
I understand.
You know, like,
Well, maybe you got the gift card for free. Maybe it's just cycling through the whole
You just
system.
write that in the card. See me afterward. Gas card. Or
Yes.
cash.
Yes. See me later. I have a gas card for you.
check in the box. Yes or no.
Final hour coming up. Dave Poulin will join us. Luke Wilson coming up as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.